The Rule of Two Sith doctrine did have its successes, most notably of course the complete overthrow of the Galactic Republic. About a year ago, I released a short video explaining why, despite its apparent success, I believe the Rule of Two to be a fundamentally flawed idea. However, that video received quite a lot of backlash in the comment section, with many claiming the Rule of Two philosophy to be faultless and the best option for the Sith. This video will explain in detail why I believe the Rule of Two was largely a foolish idea. But first, we must take a look at the strengths of the Rule of Two Sith. As we briefly explored in previous videos, the Sith of the New Sith Wars were weak. No longer were the Sith ruled by the strongest Sith Lord, they were led by a coalition of the weak, leading to defeat after defeat at the hands of the Jedi. Undoubtedly, change was needed. The instigation of the Rule of Two by Darth Bane was an understandable reaction to the failures of the Sith of old. The transformation of the Sith from warriors into politicians and bankers was certainly an effective strategy, and one I will not be criticizing. In fact, I do not disagree with the essence of much of the Rule of Two. The Sith needed to do things differently, and the integration of a brutal meritocratic system was sorely required. As the establishment of the Empire exemplifies, the strategy of destroying the Republic from within was very successful. However, this system also had its faults. Faults so significant that the success of the Rule of Two cannot only be attributed to its merits, suggesting a great deal of luck must have been present. In fact, these fundamental faults are so significant they eventually led to the complete destruction of the Sith Order. The first major problem was the lack of adherence to its finer details by many of its followers. Apprentices were only meant to replace their masters once they had become the most powerful. To prove that they were more powerful, Sith were meant to challenge and defeat their masters in a fair fight. However, during the latter days of the Rule of Two Sith, this almost never happened. Darth Plagueis killed his master by dropping a cave on his head, while Plagueis himself was killed while intoxicated and asleep. On both occasions, it was unclear whether the more powerful Sith had actually won. By killing their masters, both Plagueis and Palpatine lost the Sith Order the secret of immortality, setting the Sith back years in research. Rather than killing them in a fair fight to prove who was more powerful, deceit and betrayal were used instead. The extent to which this harmed the Sith is of course impossible to prove and requires some level of speculation. However, I believe that if Plagueis and Palpatine had ruled together as originally planned, the galaxy would have been almost helpless to stop them by the time of A New Hope. With Plagueis' power, the Sith would have been effectively immortal, and it is likely that the Sith's knowledge of the dark side would have grown far faster. The Sith wished to unlock all of the secrets of the dark side, and by prematurely killing off those who held knowledge of these powers, all it did was hinder the Sith's progress. This loss of knowledge was not the only reason why it took the Sith a millennia to become powerful enough to destroy the Republic. One of the main reasons why the Sith of old became so powerful was because there were so many of them. Just like with any scientific endeavor, many Sith worked to perfect the use of the dark side, discovering many dark side abilities that even Sidious was unable to replicate. By limiting themselves only to two, research into the dark side was very slow. In fact, it would seem as though little progress was made into the dark side across the millennia before the Clone Wars. While we can never know truly who is more powerful, the Force and lightsaber feats of Darth Bane eclipsed that of many latter Rule of Two Sith. The Rule of Two system was set up to increase the Sith's power over time. However, in 1,000 years, almost no progress was made in rediscovering ancient Sith abilities such as Sith alchemy. If anything, the Sith seemed to become weaker over the millennia. It was only through the machinations of truly remarkable Sith such as Tenebrous, Plagueis, and Palpatine that the Sith made any progress in terms of understanding the dark side. But it was not just the slow gain and loss of dark side knowledge through overly ambitious apprentices that made the Rule of Two Sith a fundamentally flawed idea. On more than one occasion, the Sith were put in existential danger due to their small numbers. If anything, the Sith were extremely lucky to survive for as long as they did. The galaxy was a dangerous place, especially for a Sith Lord. After killing their masters, it often took a few years for the Sith to find an apprentice. If just one of them had accidentally crashed their starfighter, got eaten by a rancor, or had a simple heart attack before they found and taught an apprentice all they know, the Sith Order would have ended there. the Sith were not just in danger from mundane accidents. The Sith were also put at risk through the failure of individual Sith. For example, Darth Gravid went insane trying to fuse Jedi teachings into Sith lore. This ultimately led to the destruction of much of their knowledge, and would have spelled the end of the Sith entirely if he was not stopped by his apprentice. Even Darth Plagueis admitted that the actions of Darth Gravid had set the Sith back centuries. However, many Sith abilities remain completely lost to history, even by the time of Palpatine. Again, this suggests that the Sith were in fact weaker than they were in the days of the Old Republic. As had been the case many times before, the Sith failed to realize that their ideology was an extreme one. Many Sith of the past who had fallen to the dark side had then gone on to be redeemed. The Rule of Two had been heavily based on the teachings of Darth Revan. However, Darth Revan's life was a shining example of why the Rule of Two ideology could not work. First, Darth Revan was betrayed in a rather treacherous way by his weaker apprentice, Darth Malak, again showcasing how a Sith apprentice will not always be superior to their master. More importantly though, Darth Malak was defeated by a redeemed Darth Revan, ending the Jedi Civil War and destroying the Sith Empire. What's more, Revan would later go on to help a coalition of Jedi and Sith to defeat the true Sith Emperor, the most powerful Sith up until that point, and, at least according to Sith philosophy, the rightful ruler of the Sith Order. The Rule of Two Sith were arrogant to believe that none of their order would ever turn to the light side, an arrogance that is even more absurd when taking into account the story of Darth Revan, the supposed inspiration for the Rule of Two ideology. Although the Sith got lucky when Darth Gravid was narrowly stopped in his quest to destroy the Order, this major fault was ultimately their undoing. Darth Vader's redemption to the light ended with Palpatine dead, and even if Vader had survived, the Sith still would have ended. So, while the Rule of Two did have its advantages, most notably the transformation of the Sith from warriors to politicians, it was majorly flawed. I was going to end this video with an alternative to both the Rule of Two Sith and the Sith of the Old Republic era. However, I believe there is no alternative. The Sith ideology was essentially the desire for ever more power for that individual. Darksiders, including the Sith and the Rakata before them, were almost always defeated through a combination of infighting and the unity of their opponents. Regardless of whether there were 2 or 2,000 Sith, this selfish ideology would almost always lead to conflict with the wider galaxy, infighting, and ultimately their defeat. In my opinion, it was only through Palpatine and Plagueis' sheer brilliance that they were able to overthrow the Republic. What's more, they only really followed the best parts of the doctrine. Although they did largely operate from the shadows as politicians rather than warriors, Palpatine pretty much had an army of darkside adepts in the form of the Inquisitors, so not very different to the Sith of the Old Republic era. To find out why Palpatine was not afraid of the Inquisitors rising up and overthrowing him, then check out this video.